Now that I'm in the lab today, I'd like to try my hand at annealing some PA6-CF parts for some data collection. I have some of these samples I printed. Out. This is just a food dehydrator. We had it ordered on Amazon. I'm pretty sure I can set a timer. For the samples, they need to be dried at 80 degrees Celsius for 8 hours. I don't think I need to flip them. I also bought those tinfoil trays because the dehydrator comes with this grid, and I don't think this would be the best for the samples. Operation. Use the dehydrator in a warm dry room based on a stable level heated surface. Place food on trays. Arrange trays. Plug it in. The dehydrator will beep and display will show. The dehydrator will switch to standby after 3 seconds. Press temp time to choose temperature. Temperature will blink on display in the plus or minus switching. Use plus or minus to change temperature. Okay, so 80 degrees Celsius, 176 Fahrenheit. Let's get... It does not get hot enough. Okay, does that mean I should cook it for longer? We have our first predicament. It doesn't get hot enough. So the hottest I can go is 165 Fahrenheit. So instead of 8 hours, do I cook it for 12? Unfortunate. I'm gonna do that. Okay. 12 hours. Press start, stop. You start dehydrating. When the timer finishes, okay, so this was my other concern. I wasn't sure if it would turn off when it's done. When the timer finishes, the display will show end and the heat will turn off. Dehydrator will beep 5 times and the fan will stop. Because this is in our research lab, I can't monitor it, as in I'm going home. I don't want to stay here for 12 hours. So when it's done, it's done. Now we can put our samples in here. For anyone who's annealed parts before, please leave any recommendations in the comments. I did find the 80 degrees Celsius for 8 hours on the Bamboo Lab website. Unfortunately, I can't do that, so we're going with 165 Fahrenheit, whatever that is converted in Celsius, for 12 hours. And I'll need to do that for every sample moving forward. This is also dry annealing. I am annealing them simply with hot air. I know there's other methods where you dry anneal with salt. I won't be doing that. There's also a wet annealing. I'm considering also trying that and comparing the two, but we'll see in terms of time and lab availability. You need to just take the brims off of these. I have a little pocket knife on my keychain. I'm gonna use as a deburring tool to kind of clean up some of these edges and find some wipes in the lab so I can kind of wipe off this residue glue. I feel like that's gonna kind of stink while they're baking, so I'll try to wipe that off. Not that it really matters, I don't think. So here are the 5 samples in the X0, Y0, Z0 orientation with 45 degree raster. I'm also keeping this like chart legend, pardon the chicken scratch, to keep track of the number code, just so when I go to tensile test it, I actually know what each one is. S9, sample 4, and test 10, sample 5. Just easy little markers right here. Little pocket knife. Just clean some of these edges off. This isn't a big deal for annealing, but it will be when I try to measure the dimensions, because I need cross-sectional area for stress strain curves after I do the tensile testing. And then also if there's any residue brim in the gauge length region right here, it actually impacts how the extensiometer sits on the part. So after annealing, you have to let the samples sit for a couple of days so they rehydrate. Otherwise, if you test them fully dry, I feel like it's pretty obvious they're going to be very brittle. So you need to let them rehydrate, moisture in the air, which feels extremely counterintuitive in the sense that I have to dry out this filament before I print so that it prints well, and then I'm intentionally letting it absorb moisture from the air after it anneals. We'll see if it actually does improve the tensile strength, because I'm quite curious if annealing really does anything. I guess in terms of impact resistance, it does. There's a very interesting benchy article I read. Hopefully I can find it so I can show you. Somebody boiled their PA6-CF benchy and then chucked it on a wall and compared that impact resistance to a non-boiled benchy. And the boiled benchy was actually stronger. Didn't break as much after being chucked against the wall. The more you know. Square of tinfoil, because I'm not sure if these divots are going to affect the parts. Down in the base. Going to fit. Sweet. Glad this fits because I didn't have a sample with me when I was in the dollar store. Just kind of eyeballing it and hoping that I got the right one. I feel like I should be able to fit all 3 trays. There we go. And then there's still room for this one under there, so I can do 15 samples at once. I can probably do even more if I get longer tins. But for now, this is good enough. X0, Y0, Z0, 45-degree raster samples. I'm in the oven. I have the other ones up here already. Toss these ones in. I'm just trying to have the tins centered to the middle of the rack of each level. I hope the heat is even. It's a food dehydrator. I don't know if there's even any temperature feedback on this thing. For these annealing samples, I'm only doing a few out of all of the experiment sets, just to save myself some time and to see if I really need to anneal and compare all of them. I'm going to see if there's actually a difference between the annealed versus non-annealed. If there is, I'll do more orientations. If there isn't, I'll stop at the 3 basic ones. This is the max temperature it can go, so we'll be doing 165 at 12 hours, and I think I'm ready to start. We will check back in 12 hours and see what happens. I'm back in the lab today to check on the parts that are done annealing, and also we recently renamed our research lab and I made like new nameplates, so I used the laser cutter for the first time to make new nameplates. So this is one of them. I just used scrap wood that I found at the makerspace. I'm thinking to stain it and like add black marker or paint to the text to make it look better. So this is the first sign, and then this is our other secondary sign with some of the sponsors. I quite like how they turned out. This cutout here will be because I'm printing a braille plaque. Every sign in our university has a braille version as well, so I'm going to print it and fit it in here. I would just like to place emphasis on the importance of measuring twice, cutting once, and when it comes to the laser, we did that by just trying the design on paper first to make sure it fit properly and make sure that I've given the right thicknesses for the design so the laser cutter knows where to cut and where to engrave. This laser cutter is weird. Not only does it take PDFs as the input file, but also in order to print plot to it, you plug it in via USB, open your PDF file of the design, and hit print, and then it opens like a secondary window for the proprietary software. But I thought that was pretty funny. The very first try, I accidentally cut all of the letters out because in Inkscape, when you do text, it has a fill and the outside line. And if you have any hidden outside lines, it will cut all of those. I oopsied the first time, fixed it the second time. There's also a specific thickness of outlines that you need to do if you want to cut, and a specific thickness greater than that in order to engrave. So tried it in paper first, then we did it out of wood. Although I'm noticing a second problem where the thickness of this wood is slightly thicker than the sign we currently have up, so I might need to run to the local Canadian Tire and grab some longer bolts. I like this dark wood. I feel like the engraving in this is a nice contrast. I didn't mark any of the holes on the sign, so I'm going to take down the ones outside, mark the holes, drill them out, and then mount them to see what they look like. Okay, let's check out these annealed parts. They, surprise, surprise, don't look any different than when I started. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess we'll see through mechanical tests if annealing actually makes a difference, particularly for tensile strength. Just came back from the dollar store and the print is done for version 2 of the braille sign. This was version 1. It was supposed to pause so that I could do a material change and have the braille part black, but the power went out on campus. And I printed another one, which looks a lot better in white and black. There we go. So this will be the braille sign on the door. It says Impact Lab and then Intelligent Manufacturing Processes, Automation, and Creative Technologies. At least that's what I hope it says. So I just queued up the other print. It's just 3 spacers to have the braille sign in line with the front of the laser cut sign. When it comes to a university research lab, you're basically expecting that you'll have master's and PhD level students. So one thing we love to highlight in our group is all the undergraduate success, because we do have some interns and students who are doing research or just starting out in it right from the get-go in their undergrad. So we've framed a few of the success stories of some of our interns, and I'm going to make a gallery wall over there. We do have a research poster already on the wall here from some of our other undergrads, so I'll just add these to the collection to kind of showcase more of that work. Kind of get hungry on the way back from the dollar store, so I got a corn dog.